let's take a look at human resource development programs. In some cases, the availability of needs assessment data may be limited. Although HRD practitioners may feel that it will be difficult to design effective training programs, sometimes they must improvise and make the best of such suboptimal situations. At the same time, every effort should be made to persuade management of the importance of conducting needs analysis and prioritizing HRD needs as time and resources allow. The key activities involved in designing an HRD program are setting objectives, developing a lesson plan, selecting a trainer and program methods, preparing materials, and scheduling the program. It's important to stress at the onset that program design can be a lengthy process. HRD professionals must simultaneously accomplish several other critical tasks throughout the design process. Objectives define what participants will be expected to learn or do as a result of participating in the HRD program or intervention. Statements of HRD needs are often not detailed enough to be used as specific program outcomes. Rather, they state the problem at hand and ideally include a diagnosis of the problem's cause. Objectives, in contrast, should state the outcome the program is intended to produce. Defining the objectives for the training or HRD program is one of the first things an HRD professional should do after completing a needs assessment. HRD or training program objectives describe the intent and the desired result of the HRD program. Rather, objectives are used as a basis for determining which methods should be used to achieve the specified outcome. They are an essential element to successful training or HRD programs. Objectives are used by the organization to evaluate the program's success. In short, objectives tell you where the program's going and how to know when you've reached your desired target. Training effectiveness was measured in terms of perceived achievement of training objectives, as well as by comparing training expenditures to company productivity. To be effective, objectives must link to important organizational outcomes. Needs assessment data are useful for defining program objectives because they identify the deficiencies or challenges to be addressed. Program objectives that lack clear statements concerning performance, conditions, and criteria are often ambiguous and can cause those who interpret the objectives differently to feel frustrated and to come into conflict with one another. Have the objectives reviewed by others. If they're confused, the objectives should be revised. After a manager or HRD professional has identified program objectives, a series of decisions must be made regarding the development and delivery of the program. One of those decisions is whether to design the program internally, purchase it from an outside vendor, or use some combination of both. Many resources are available to assist trainers in the design and delivery of new programs, and many services are available through outside vendors or consultants. Many consulting firms, educational institutions, professional societies, governmental agencies, and nonprofit community-based organizations offer training programs and information to interested organizations. The American Society for Training and Development, as well as T&D and training magazines, are useful places to begin the search for external training providers. Once an organization decides to purchase a program from an outside source, a vendor must be chosen. One way to do this is to find a match between a vendor's product and an organization's needs and objectives. When organizations elect to purchase training programs, they should first conduct a needs assessment. Selecting a trainer can be fairly easy when an organization has a large, multifaceted training staff with competencies and subject matter experts to train in high-demand areas. Training competency involves the knowledge and varied skills needed to design and implement a training program. Effective trainers must be able to communicate their knowledge clearly, use various instructional techniques, have good interpersonal skills, and the ability to motivate others to learn. Subject matter experts refer to the mastery of a subject matter. However, subject matter expertise alone does not guarantee an individual will be an effective trainer. Many make poor trainers. Individuals who lack the ability to design and implement effective training programs may rely too heavily on a single method of instruction that may be inappropriate for the subject matter. The purpose of a Train the Trainer program is to provide subject matter experts, SMEs, with the necessary instructional knowledge and skills to design and implement a training program. Some organizations design their own Train the Trainer programs, which can be desirable when there's a constant demand for skilled or technical trainers, or when employers want to emphasize a particular training technique. When it's not possible to design a Train the Trainer program, some organizations have developed training manuals that include these various components of the design and implementation process. A lesson plan is a trainer's guide for the actual delivery of training content. Creating a lesson plan requires the trainer to determine in advance what's to be covered and how much time to devote to each part of the session. Lessons plans might include content to be covered, sequencing of events, selection or design of training media, development of experimental exercises, and timing and planning of each activity. Developing a thorough lesson plan is central to successful training and educational efforts. One way of classifying training is by the degree of activity expected or required of trainees. On one end, the lecture method and videotapes are generally the least active or most passive form of training. Other approaches, such as computer-based instruction or video conferencing, are moderately active. On the other extreme, highly experimental methods such as outdoor training, role-playing exercises, games, and simulations demand the greatest amount of activity or action from trainees. Training approaches also can be grouped into two broad categories: on-the-job methods, which typically occur in the employee's normal work setting, and classroom methods, which typically take place away from the job. Computer-based training, CBT for example, can be implemented using a computer at an employee's desk or workstation, in a company classroom, or even an employee's home. Several factors should be considered when choosing the most appropriate method. The objectives of the program are the most important factor. Some approaches are more appropriate for achieving particular objectives than others. Unfortunately, in many organizations, managers often ask the HRD department to design and implement programs quickly while spending as little money as possible. Some methods require highly trained trainers and specialized equipment or facilities to be delivered effectively. Again, trade-offs are likely necessary and may require choosing alternate approaches with less demanding resources. Methods such as computer-based training require a fairly high level of literacy. Similarly, because individuals have different learning styles, some training methods may be more appropriate than others. In the end, selection of training methods and media requires that program designers have knowledge of different HRD techniques and use sound judgment in their decision making. HRD professionals should investigate all available methods and, when in doubt, consult expertise in colleagues and others who they value and trust. After training methods have been selected, the next logical step is to prepare or purchase training materials. If a training program is purchased from an outside vendor, training materials such as books, handouts, and videos will usually be part of the package. Programs designed in-house will require the preparation of these materials. If the program is similar to past training programs, those materials may simply need to be modified to fit the current program. Program announcements inform the target audience about a training program. The announcement should indicate the purpose of the program, when and where it will be held, and how the employee can participate. Program outlines, or course syllabi, are documents that communicate the content, goals, and expectations of a program. These usually include things like course objectives, agenda, and materials needed. Most trainers rely on a training manual or textbook for basic instructional material, readings, exercises, and self-tests. Some documents are organized into modules that make it easy to organize the training program into sessions. Training manuals can be readily produced by an organization, particularly given the availability of desktop publishing software. The production cost will include staff time for curriculum design and writing, cost of equipment, and printing. It's usually less expensive in the long run to purchase a commercially produced manual if one's available. The task of scheduling a training or other HRD program isn't as straightforward as you might think. Organizations can be busy, hectic, and unpredictable environments, making scheduling HRD and other activities very difficult. The goal in scheduling an HRD program is to ensure that the participants, both the trainer and the learners, are available and have their attention focused on the learning task at hand. Running the program during normal working hours avoids outside conflicts and sends a message to employees that learning is an important part of their job. The day of the week becomes an issue because employees often favor some days for time off, such as Mondays and Fridays and days surrounding a holiday. Programs scheduled for the start or end of the workday may face a significant portion of tardy or tired employees. The trainer should be aware of these issues and take steps to deal with them as best as possible. Peak work hours are the times of the day, week, month, or year that departments are the busiest, and when scheduling a training program would cause a potential conflict. Managers and supervisors should be contacted before scheduling programs to determine if participants have any staff meetings, travel requirements, or any other special scheduling needs. It should be clear to participants and managers how one should register for training, who is responsible for logistical elements, and what people should do if they need to cancel or reschedule their training program. Organizations with larger needs should consider investing in a learning management or LMS system. Despite the many potential advantages for e-learning, care is needed to provide the right environment for the learning to happen.